and welcome to another edition of Lab Rats. My name is Andy Walker.
I'm Sean Carruthers.
And today, I think we're going to do a reprise of an episode we did very recently.
Are we going to do one about XLRs?
Nope.
Are we going to do one about solid-state drives?
Nope.
MacBook Air?
Nope. Oh, well, maybe we'll do that again. That was fun. No, if you recall, a few weeks ago, we did an episode called Mailbag.
Mailbag!
And because we get lots of mail, as it turns out. And you guys loved it so much, we got like a deluge of more mail saying, yes, please give us more mailbag.
Yes, we also heard not too often, so we're not going to do it every episode.
Right, but so we'll do it every now and then.
Often.
And so this is mailbag number 2.
Number 2.
All right, very good. All right, so let's take a break real quick. Message from our sponsor. When we come back, letters from you to us, and we'll answer them too.
We will?
Absolutely.
If a lab rat was the new Camtasia Studio 5,
Hello!
it would be the smartest, it would be more friendly,
You're a wiener!
and it would work well with others.
Nope, you're a wiener.
The new Camtasia Studio 5, screencasting software that's better than a lab rat. Download it at www.techsmith.com.
Ooh, well, mailbag.
Mailbag.
Let's rummage around, shall we, and see what is in our inbox at the moment.
We should get like an actual mailbag that we can pull letters out of.
Yeah, it's just
But then we'd have to print them.
No, forget it. Email, it's where it's at, man. Okay, first one is from Lyle Hensley. And he says he's a retired U.S. Army guy, retired in 78. And here's what he says. He says, so he's got a laptop as his main computer. It's a Dell 9300 Inspiron. And he also has another, a Dell 8200 Inspiron laptop as well, which he uses wireless from another home. I would like to be able to transfer files to and from my 110 gigabyte USB HD drive, which is connected to my 9300 Inspiron. Right? And he set it up with sharing options, and he checked the permissions to access his USB drive, which is attached to one of them. And he can't do it. Like, it just won't happen.
Okay, so he's got USB drive connected to this machine, but he wants to access the USB drive from this machine.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So is there a way to configure the USB drive for complete access?
I don't know.
I do know.
You do know?
I do know.
Well, very good. I was going to say one way that you can get around this problem, if you want to, is to get a network hub that actually has a USB port on the back, and you can plug that
would be one
into the hub and actually share it among all the computers in your house.
Right.
But you've got a way to do it in
I
the
do.
configuration.
So here's the thing: is first of all, I want you to know that this is both Windows XP, and it's just Voodoo for the most part. It's a really difficult thing to do.
Yes.
That said, here's the secret to getting it to work most of the time. So there's usually 2 issues that come up. Issue number 1, that there's a firewall in the way, and it won't let one machine talk to the other machine. And that may, in most cases, that is a third-party firewall that gets in the way. So if you're running Zone Alarm, or if you have a firewall built into Norton, or something along those lines, then try turning that off, right? And try it that. That will identify whether or not the firewall is in the way. And I would say that probably 75% of the questions where people are having problems, it's usually a third-party firewall that's in the way. If that's not the case, Lyle, then what I would say next would be to create a user ID for Windows, to log into Windows. So in my case, it would be A Walker with that password.
Pay attention to this. You'll know how to break into his system later.
Right. And then I create exactly the same account on Windows on the other machine. Log into both machines with the same account. And what happens is it goes, oh, you're the same person. So there's no permission issues, because what may be happening is you're logging in as Lyle H over here and L Hensley over here, and the machine's like, whoa, 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 don't do that.
Yeah, sometimes it gets confused about that.
Right. And that should solve the problem. Now, one other thing to add in here is when you actually are going to put that drive in and share it, you need to right-click on it in Windows Explorer and say share the drive as well, specifically.
Okay.
And then you want to say rewrite permissions and that sort of thing.
Okay, so in this case you would share the whole drive as opposed to just sharing a subfolder.
Yeah, I mean you could do that too. You could put a folder on there and share that folder, right-click, say share as, and that sort of thing.
Okay, so the key here will be to make sure that entire drive or a subsection of that drive is set up as sharing, and that the drive is mounted on that other machine. Therefore, you should be able to just go to that other machine as if it was a folder on that, or that USB drive would become a folder on that machine, essentially.
That's right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, one other thing I want to mention is that I think there is we do have on cyberwalker.com, there's an article we generated on how to do networking step by step. So we'll put that up in the show notes for you to have a look at as well.
Okay.
Okay.
And if this doesn't work for you, then maybe take a look at whether your router, which you might already have that jack on the back for USB. You might be able to share that drive as a shared drive. It might work for either drives or printers. You know, the Airport Express has a lot of D-Link and Linksys drives will have that as well. So that might be already in place.
I'll have to say that as much as people hate Windows Vista, it's Vista to Vista networking is actually a lot easier. It has a whole new Vista networking control panel, and between those two machines, it actually makes life a lot easier. So,
very good.
Not suggesting you go to Vista from both of your XP machines because they're a little older to really handle the Vista requirements from a performance perspective. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. This one's for you, Sean.
Okay.
Hey guys, this is from Joel. I'm in the market for a DSLR.
Me too. No, wait, I've already got one.
And
you keep reading, I'll go get mine.
And he said, I'm having trouble understanding all the features, settings, lenses, and what to look for when buying a camera. You know, what brands are good, and the difference between sensors using to capture the image. So he wants buying advice.
Buying advice.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got my Canon here. I actually just recently upgraded. People that have watched the work that I've done on the lab, I did a feature called What the Tech. On that, where we did close-up pictures, and I had an Olympus for the longest time, and I loved the system, but ultimately one of my big expensive lenses fell apart, and I had to make the decision, do I replace the lens or do I replace the camera? And I actually decided, well, let's just replace the system. I chose Canon for a couple of reasons, and the one major important reason, I think, or the one thing that you should really take into account when you're thinking about which system to go with is the fact that it's a system, first of all. There's Canon, there's Nikon, there's Olympus, there's Pentax. All of them use different lens mounts. There's Sony as well. So what you want to look at, do you have a lot of lenses that are available for this system? Will you be able to upgrade easily? Because typically if you get a Canon, you're not going to be able to upgrade to Nikon without completely refreshing the system, which is what I ended up doing here. All of my old Olympus lenses I can't use anymore. So if you've already got investment in lenses from any one system, for people that are thinking of upgrading, first of all, you'll probably want to stick with the same system.
What about for a newbie?
For a newbie, the field is wide open, I think. Just try to figure out who's got the lenses that you want. I think Canon and Nikon are both excellent choices in this regard because both of them have a whole pile of lenses. Not only that, but a whole pile of legacy lenses, which you can get for cheap at the old film-based camera bins. So
and those all fit?
A lot of them will fit. Now, some of the new models are moving to a more digital solution, so some of the old lenses may not work, and definitely, even if they do fit that same mount, they won't have the automatic functionality that the new lenses will give you, because they're not digital lenses. Okay. So that's one thing. Just figure out which lenses you want, and that will largely determine which direction you go.
Now, he does want to know what lenses are recommended for beginners.
The one lens that everyone keeps talking about when I hear people recommending a lens to get. See, I'm a big fan of the zoom because I go out looking and taking pictures of birds. So I need to get in close really quickly, and I need to be able to zoom out. So that's one thing. But
I like to take pictures of birds too, but it's the English definition of birds.
Yes, I know.
Pretty girls.
If you're just getting started in digital SLR photography, one thing that you should look at is maybe just a 50 milliliter fixed lens. They call it a prime as well. So what that does is it really makes you think about how to frame your shot. It's a good all-purpose lens. It's not too wide. It's not too tight. So you can actually get reasonably good shots with that, and it'll teach you discipline first of all. So that's a good first lens to get if you only are going to get one. But a good zoom is a good second choice as well.
Okay, great.
He mentioned things about sensors as well.
Yeah.
Most of the newer cameras, like the Canons, the Nikons, they're all moving to CMOS sensors.
Now, sensor meaning the digital replacement for film.
Right.
It's a chip, right?
Right. So instead of film that winds through the back and it gathers the light, there's a chip that has little receptors on it that figure out what's coming in. And the CMOS is complementary metal
oxide semiconductor.
There we go. So, CMOS is the way to go these days with these new digital SLRs. You probably won't find too many of them with CCD, so don't worry about that.
Charge couple device.
Charge couple device.
CCD, okay. He wants to know also about explaining ISO aperture, and we did that recently, right?
Yeah, we just did that recently, so I just recommend go to our website, labrats.tv, click on the shows, link at the top, and then go back, and we have one there. And we actually have one way back as well that talks more generally about SLRs as well. I think it was around episode 50. So check that out, and that'll explain a little bit more about that.
Okay, good. All right. Let's see if there's anything. He also wants to know what software is good for photo editing.
Photoshop.
And in fact, better, I would say Photoshop Elements, which is a $99 package from Adobe. Really great way to get all the cool features of Photoshop without paying the $600 price.
Right.
It's basically Photoshop for beginners with all the good, cool stuff built in.
If you're really, really into the idea of retouching and real hardcore work on these images, you want to go for the higher end, but definitely if all you're doing is cropping, lightening up images, doing a little bit of tweaks of the colors, then yeah, definitely Photoshop Elements will do it. It's been on Windows for a long time, and they do have a version of it for Mac now as well. So
there you go. Good. Hey.
He wants to be part of Mailbag. Maybe he has a question.
Right. That's right. Exactly. Tell me more about mice, right?
Electronic mice.
All right. Moving on. So, oh, look, this is an episode from Ben. An email from Ben Brand. And Ben says, first, I love your show, dudes.
Woohoo!
Yeah. I've been systematically watching all the episodes for a while now, and I have a question about the map network drive thing you did in episode 9 to share some files. You used the IP address of your computer, and I was wondering how you assigned your computer a static IP address. I thought they were dynamic. Also, what are the other advantages of having a static IP?
Okay, well, static IP versus dynamic, by default, out of the box, you'll get a dynamic IP. Now, to define what that means, IP is Internet Protocol, and that's what it stands for, but what it means, essentially, the IP address is an address in numbers that your computer is given so that it can be identified on the network. So it usually fits in a home network 192.168.something.
Right.
And your router will often be the thing that gives you that address.
Right.
So what dynamic is it means every time you log in, it could give you a different address. So you're not going to be the same address from time to time.
Right.
Usually your router gives you something called a lease, which is for a defined amount of time, like a couple hours, could be a couple days, could be whatever time you define it. But after that point, it'll refresh, some other computer can come in, swoop in, grab that IP address, and then your computer will get a different one.
Right.
Now, you can get a static IP address on any machine you choose. There's some downsides to this and some upsides. And how you get to this, and I'm not sure how you do this on Vista, but it's generally in the network control panel.
In Control Panel on Windows XP, so if you go to Network, which is the network applet, in Control Panel, you can, I think when you open that up, you have a choice of going to, I think it's Properties.
And so you click on the connection that you're trying to set as a static IP. So
right-click, choose Properties.
You'll have a list of protocols up in the top that you can scroll down, and you go down to TCP/IP, click on that, and then that will allow you to choose between dynamic and static.
So actually, XP and Vista look very similar here. So let me just take you through how to do it on Vista. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up, in this particular case, I'm going to open up the Network and Sharing Center, which you'll find in a Control Panel. And I'm going to choose to, let's see, manage my network connections. This is Vista so far. And you'll get to this screen on XP if you just go to Network. So then you want to choose the connection.
In this case, we're choosing wireless network connection because that's the one you use to connect to the net. If you're connected to by Ethernet, you would choose local area connection, most likely.
And I'm going to right-click and I'm going to choose Properties. There's the user account control, which I want to say continue on. You won't get it on XP, by the way. And you want to go down to IP version 4.
Your version 6 is newer, and typically you're not using that.
You're not using
at this point.
I'm going to click on Properties again. And what you'll see here, and you'll see this is very similar on XP too.
This is almost identical.
So as you can see right now, I'm set to obtain an IP address automatically. That's dynamic IP, meaning the router that I'm connected to is assigning that internally in my house. Or I can say use the following IP address.
There we go.
Now here's the secret, is you can actually assign it here an IP address, but you want to assign it in the same range that your router is serving. So the secret to that is to find out what your router IP address is, which is going to be, in most cases, except if it's airport, 192.168.something.something. And usually it's .0.1, .1.1, .2.1, or it could be 10.1 or something along those lines. Linksys, for example, is always .1.1.
I think D-Link is 0.1.
Yeah.
And Belkin is 2.1. I think Netgear is one of the above. I can't even remember which ones they are.
So, but you can pretty much find that out by going into your router and having a look at that. You could also get it through Windows as well.
Yeah. Well, let's show quickly how to do that.
Okay, I'm going to go to my Start button here, and I'm going to go to a command here. I'm going to go to, let me just type in Run. So you're going to click on, in Vista, you can just click, you can do this, or in XP, there's a Run.
There's a Run button. Yeah.
So, and I'm going to type in CMD.
Or command.
And I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to get a command box, right? This is sort of what's called a DOS emulator. And I'm going to type ipconfig / all, right? This is just an internal command to the system. And what it does is it's going to show me all the different states of the various network-connected devices. And if you look in here, you're going to find, you're looking for your default gateway. So you can see my wireless LAN adapter, and look for the default gateway. So I know that my default gateway, my IP address of that is 192.168.2.1.
That's the gateway.
That's the gateway. It's a Belkin gateway,
okay,
as it turns out. So what you want to do, so if I want to set up a static IP, I go back to my...
Well, while we're on this screen right here, you can see it actually lists your IPv4 address just above that.
There you go.
That's the address you currently have as well.
Using, yeah.
So if you want to lock that in,
right,
and always be that, then you would just retype that.
Yeah, you could actually just select that as, so we're going to lock it in here just by going back to that, the properties, the general tab there, and I'm going to use the following IP address, and I'm going to type in 192.168.2.8.
Subnet mask is typically 255.255.255 and 0. That can change, so you can get that information from your IP config listing there too.
But mostly that default is actually correct.
That default is almost always correct.
Yeah. And then you want to type in the default gateway, which is the router address, 192.168.2.1. And you're going to click OK. And then once that's done, you can then, your address is now locked in. Now, the advantage of that now is that it will never change. And it's useful because why, Sean?
It's useful because if you want to do sharing, you can always be sure that it's at the same address every single time.
Right.
If you're doing it with something like a printer, you make sure that the printer is always at that IP address every single time. And you can also use that if you have any internet applications that need to bust through a firewall. You can set those on the router now. Say, if I've got this kind of traffic coming in, you're using BitTorrent or whatever, you want to, whether it's legitimate or not, you can actually now say, okay, direct all traffic to that particular address.
Right. And when you switch your machine off and switch it back on, the IP address is available again. It's not going to change.
Yeah. Actually, the legitimate application that's really key on this one, knowing your IP address, is Skype. And we did an episode on turbocharging your Skype that will allow you to make sure that you got clarity of service, and this will help.
Right. The other thing that you may come across too is LAN gaming.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk machine to machine inside of a home network, it's helpful to know what each other's IP address is and leave it that way.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that a lot of people use to deal with that sort of thing right now is called universal plug and play. A lot of people think it's a security risk because anything can tell your router open up a hole, and if that's a Trojan, yeah. So if you've got your UPnP already disabled, someone has told you to disable it for security reasons, this will help you get past that because you know what the IP address is.
Right, very good. All right. So long answer to a relatively complicated question, but hopefully that'll give you a sense of what to do. All right, good. Let's go back to our email now.
One other downside you should be pay attention to is the fact that now you've locked that in on this machine. If something else, if another machine comes in and grabs that address while this machine is not turned on, then there's going to be IP conflicts potentially. So if you might have to do a bit of troubleshooting with the different machines on your network to make sure that they're both not trying to grab the same address.
IP address, yeah. One thing you could do, of course, is just change it to a high number. So you go 192.168.2, because of course that's what the router's assigned. .155 all the way up to 255.
254. 255 is reserved.
That's right, exactly. So so what I normally do is sort of go into the high 50s. Sometimes, of course, the routers will reserve a range. So if you stay below 50 in a random number, 37, 29 or something like that, chances of another machine on the network trying to secure that won't happen. So.
Yeah, this becomes more of a problem in a big office where you've got like a ton of different machines all fighting for the same IP addresses.
That's right.
In your home, you're fine.
So there you go. There is probably more than you ever wanted to know about static IP addresses. But it's a great question, and thank you so much, Ben, for sending that in. I think we have time for one more, perhaps?
Sure.
All right. This is from Kush Desai. And Kush says, I want to make a recommendation for an episode. I know an IP address is as good as a home address, and it's easy to track down to your home. I was wondering if you could do an episode that shows how to hide or change your IP address to protect your identity. So what he wants is so when you connect to the internet out to the world, so if you can connect your computer directly to the internet, then your computer will get an IP address that is seen in the outside world. If you connect to a router, right, before you connect to a machine, then the router will have an external IP address to the outside world.
Right, so this is where your internet, your cable modem or your DSL modem will be reporting to the outside world.
That's right.
It's saying, I am this number, so that anything coming in will go to that number first. Your router will turn around and change it into your internal number and send it inside.
That's right. So in this particular case, I'm in my router now, as you can see. The gateway's IP address externally is, well, that number there.
Yeah.
Which will blur out.
Yes. There we go. Please do not attack this number.
IP address, although that'll change tomorrow based on my ISP anyway.
So and this is dynamic too, potentially.
Yeah, it is, because they're sharing a pool of IP addresses too externally. That said, if you want to be anonymous on the internet where your IP address is not traceable or is relatively not traceable, there are a couple of servers. I think it's called proxy servers. What a proxy does is basically it's a server that receives all the traffic for you and then passes it on to you, but it never lets the source of that information know that it's representing you.
I thought I mentioned your cat is shedding all over my MacBook.
It's spring, man. It's total spring. You should have got a MacBook Air. Apparently it's cat proof.
All right.
All right.
Watch it.
So, so in order to, if you wanted, so there may a variety of reasons why you would want to use a proxy server. One may be you may be up to nefarious things, which, of course, just because you have a proxy server and you're hiding behind it won't necessarily protect you from responsibility for any action that you take.
Yep, there was an anonymizer server that did just this, based out of Europe recently, and they handed over IP addresses of people that were using the service at one point. Right. So just because it is anonymous doesn't mean you cannot be found.
But for most people, they would have to get a court order or really put pressure on the anonymizer or the proxy to get your identity revealed. And a lot of these companies have this policy, and if somebody can prove that you're up to no good, they might reveal who you are, but otherwise you are hidden from most of the world. Now, where this may be useful, if, for example, I used this recently where I wanted to see all the episodes of Jericho, a TV show that was being shown here, they were being published or broadcast on demand on the CBS website, but only to American IP addresses.
Well, that's no good.
So here in Canada, we were shut out, right? Now, the broadcast companies do that for a variety of different, permissions reasons and things like that. So I actually use a proxy to pretend I was an American computer, which then allowed me to log onto the website. Logging onto the website from Canada using my Canadian IP address, it said, sorry, you're not allowed to see this where you live.
So basically, you're logging onto this service, and that service is saying to the service you want to get to, hi, I would like this content. So you would say to this, I want that content. It would say to that, I want the content, and then it'll just stream it back through.
Well, and this service over here will say, are you American? Oh, yeah, it looks like your IP address, because by your IP address, they can tell you where you are in the world. And so, because the proxy is American, I got the content. So that was just one way to sort of skip around some of these silly rules that exist on the internet.
Yeah, now that's not so much anonymizing as using a proxy. For true anonymization, so that you're just left as unknowable who you are. I suppose you could use this in this way, but that's not exactly what they're designed for, I don't believe.
So, yeah. Well, first of all, let's just mention. So, it's a web proxy, and let me talk about how to set up a web proxy specifically first. In Firefox, our favorite browser, you want to go to Tools, Options, and then you want to go across to Advanced, and click on the settings next to the connection. And what you'll see is you can actually set up a proxy. So I can select that, type in the IP address and a port number provided by the proxy to your browser, and then you can start surfing through that address. Now you can get a variety of different proxies from this website called proxy.org. And there are lots to pick from. You can choose by country, by numerically, you know. By the way, on Internet Explorer, if you use that on 7, tools, internet options, connections, LAN settings, and then you can use the proxy there. So I just want to show you that. Now, if you want to be truly anonymous, then there are some paid services that do this. And one company that does this is called Anonymizer.
Anonymizer.
So that's a packaged product that you can actually, it's a subscription-based service, $30 US a year, that you can go there, get that, and then they will give you the anonymous proxy and protect your identity until you do something bad. And then maybe you would, I don't know what their policies are. You'd have to look around to see what their policies are around illicit behavior, but that may be an option for you if you want a more certain service that's easier to install.
All right.
There you go.
I think that wraps up Mailbag.
That does. So let's break for a final word from our sponsor. When we come back, some pictures?
I hope so.
Okay, unless they're anonymous. Okay. All right, we'll be back after this. All right, so let's get into the pictures. I know we have a few pictures kicking around, so let's have a look.
We do. So we've got this little thing here from Joey, who wanted to tell us what he thought of Windows Vista. It's all charred. I think Joey's still a Windows XP fan.
I guess so, huh? Well,
Yeah,
him and a whole bunch of other people in the world.
Yeah.
I know. Some people just refuse to switch to Vista.
Vista is sort of charring me as well.
Is
So.
it? Yeah, it chars me too, and I wrote the book on it, so
Yeah.
there you go. I did mention the title.
Yeah, there we go. This is Kevin from Austin, Texas, and he's a LabRats fan, and he's got a rat on his shoulder.
I used to have a rat like that called Bill. Bill the rat.
Bill.
Yeah, they're great. They're great pets. Rats are great pets. They really are.
They're very friendly.
They are very friendly.
And they're smart.
Yes. Good stuff. All right. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Oh, hey, it looks like Boo.
It does kind of look like Boo, but this is actually Odie, who is Maya's cat.
Oh, yeah. Well, she got a copyright symbol, Maya Schlegel.
Maya Schlegel.
Very good.
I'm assuming that she's allowing us copyright to reprise this.
Yes.
There you go.
Good stuff. Well, thanks, Maya. That's great. We love that.
One last one. This is Brad's dog. I don't know Brad's dog's name, so we'll just call him Melbourne, because that's where he's from.
Melbourne the dog.
Melbourne the dog.
Oh, he's gorgeous.
Very
He's
cute.
absolutely gorgeous. Well, that's it for us. Anything else to add?
No, if you got a photograph to send to us, send it to feedback@labrats.tv.
Check us out on the website at labrats.tv, of course. And that's it. Thanks so much for checking out Feedback this week. My name is Andy Walker.
I'm Sean Carruthers.
We'll see you next time.
Are you